We will discuss each of the, is it 6 measures? And then we will conduct TWGs so that upon assumption on May 4, within the 3 weeks or 1 month, I hope I can sponsor all, being pressured, so that we can enact it all into law within the year before the budgetary process in October. That's ambitious, right? But we can. Yes. This is the chair, a group is, Tirso, discipline, right? The Ilocano discipline and CSW. I didn't see you when I entered. Kakaupo mo lang. Yes, yes. I apologize that I'm up here. I really don't like the way I want to see you on the same level, right? But this is the position they've asked me to. So allow me just please to welcome all of you to our committee hearing on the Commission on Higher Education. And perhaps the secretary can read into the record the presence of everyone today. Let me just read the measures. The governance of local universities and colleges, the governance of state universities and colleges, SUCs and LUCs, strengthening of the CHED Charter, strengthening of TESDA Charter, the establishment of the Philippine Professional Standards and Quality Assurance System, and the establishment of the Presidential Merit Scholarship. So given the scope of these proposals, the committee will focus on a general discussion of key policy directions. We will hear from EDCOM on their comments on the 6th, and it's free for all, those, whether it's PASOK or CHED or TESDA, all agencies may raise your hand, please, and comment on any and all. And may I request Ms. Clea Nava, our ComSec, to read into the record the presence of everyone. So after that, I will just read each and every bill or the gist and what it means. Then I will listen to the EDCOM presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We would like to acknowledge the presence of our distinguished resource persons. From the Commission on Higher Education, we have Dr. Shirley Agrupis, Chairperson of CHED, Executive Director Cinderella Filipina Haro, Executive Director Dr. Alma Patron, AFMS Director, Dr. Laura Landayans, UC, Office of Institutional Quality Assurance and Governance, Ms. Corina Frances Cabanilla, Office of Student Development and Services. From the TESDA, we have Secretary Jose Francisco Kiko Benitez. He is joined by Deputy Director General Alan Chester Nadate, Finance and Legal Affairs. From the Second Congressional Commission on Education, EDCOM 2, we have Dr. Carol Marquis. From the Department of Budget and Management, we have Attorney Tricia Baraan, Budget Information Legislative Service. From the DILG, we have Attorney Noel Sala. From the Department of Economy, Planning and Development, we have Mr. Arthur Philip Sevilla, Supervising Economic Development Specialist. From the Department of Education, we have Undersecretary Rafaelita Aldaba. Also from the Department of Education, we have Assistant Secretary Janier Datukan. From the Professional Regulation Commission, we have Dr. Rosita Navarro, Chairperson, Professional Regulation Board for Professional Teachers. She is joined by Dr. Paz Lucido, Vice Chairperson, Professional Regulation Board for Professional Teachers, and Dr. Paraluman Hiron, also from the PRB for Professional Teachers. From the COCOPEA, we have their Managing Director, Attorney John Jacome, joined by Attorney Therese Diana Peña, Legal Counsel. From the Philippine Association of State Universities and Colleges, we have Dr. Tirso Ronquillo. From the Association of Local Colleges and University, or ALCU, we have Dr. Sheila Villanueva, Executive Director and Head Secretariat. We are also joined by Ms. Soleil Manzano from the League of Cities of the Philippines, Deputy Executive Director. From the Teacher Education Council, we have Executive Director Jenny Hoxon. We also have former TESDA Director General Ms. Irene Isaac. And we also have Attorney Alexander Cabrera, Chairman Emeritus ESG Leader Isla Lipanya, Member of EDCOM 2 Standing Committee. That's all, Madam Chair.
Very much, Comsec Nava. Now, let me just go through the 6 bills. Actually, they are different numbers of bills per subject matter. But let me go to Senate Bill 1415. That is what I filed, but there are other measures filed by Senator Escudero, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Ontiveros. So what is this first bill we're discussing? The proposed Local Universities and Colleges Governance Act. It seeks to prescribe mandatory nationwide guidelines for the establishment, the operation, conversion, and quality assurance of all LUCs. That is public higher education institutions created and funded by local government units. And this bill establishes the minimum requirements that LGUs must satisfy before creating an LUC. It will standardize the composition and the powers of the LUC governing boards, defines clear roles for the Commission on Higher Education and TESDA as joint regulators, mandates the alignment of LUC programs with labor market needs, and creates a dedicated oversight body with CHED. I will no longer read the whole current legal and policy framework. I will also no longer read the problem definition because there are a lot. And let me go through, I will no longer read again the proposed policy changes because this is embodied in the bill, but allow me to put on record my very voluminous and briefer for this proposed measure. I have many questions for this, but I just wanted to put in perspective each measure that we are discussing today. Now we go to the next. There are 2 Senate bills. One is filed by Senator Lapid, the other is by this representation. And we know that RA 8292, or the Higher Education Modernization Act, way back in 1997, governs all state universities and colleges in relation to the composition and powers of the governing boards. 3 decades later, the structural problems have emerged that the law is no longer equipped to address. So, CHED is simultaneously a regulator and a regulated entity. So hopefully these bills, which is amending the Higher Education Modernization Act of 1997 to strengthen the governance of state universities and colleges by revising the composition and powers of their governing boards, clarifying the role of the Commission on Higher Education, and granting differentiated autonomy, will address this problem. There's also the issue of governing boards lack defined roles and preparation, and all SUCs are regulated identically regardless of performance. Again, I will no longer read the explanations on the statements I made. There are proposed policy changes that clarifies the roles of CHED and the SUC governing board, which is enshrined in the bills. It also strengthens the governing board. It prepares the SUC leadership. It has proposals on differentiated autonomy and Philippine Higher Education Academy and other provisions. The questions will be asked later. Let me go to the third. This is the Higher Education Development and Innovation Act. There is a bill by Senator Estrada and by this representation. So 1427, it proposes the complete repeal of 7722 or the Higher Education Act of 1994. Its replacement with a comprehensive new law, the Higher Education Development and Innovation Act 2025, last year pa na-file ito. The bill enacts an entirely new governance framework for the Commission on Higher Education, the primary government agency responsible for regulating, supervising, developing the country's colleges and universities. We all know the Philippines has 1,911 higher education institutions, enrolling approximately 5.4 million students, according to CHED data in September of last year. I'm not sure if this is accurate today. Yet this large sector operates under a governance law enacted over 3 decades ago. And sometimes I wonder, it baffles the mind why it took us this long to amend it. And when total HEI enrollment was less than a third of the current levels, and the K-12 reform had not yet been conceived, and the global shift towards competency-based, qualifications-aligned, and internationally benchmarked education had not yet occurred. The fundamental problem is institutional. CHED's legal mandate has not kept pace with the sector's growth, diversification, or the policy commitments the Philippine government has made in subsequent decades. I would like to thank Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, chairman of the Finance Committee and former chair of the Higher Education Committee, an expert in all of this. I'm happy that your join is here. And maybe after I leave at 3 o'clock, if you may want to continue this as chair, I can yield to you. But one thing is sure, whatever we pass here will be funded because he is present today. Right? Okay. Yeah. So thank you very much, Senator Sherwin. Would you like, after my statement, would you like to read an opening statement? We have 6 bills which are being discussed here. As I said again, I will not go into each and every provision, and there are loads of proposed questions which can be answered today and or in the technical working group. Let me go to the next measure. The TESDA Modernization Act. So there are 2 bills, Senator Villanueva, 1449, and this representation 1413. What does it do? It proposes to comprehensively replace 7796, the TESDA Act way back in 1994. The bill seeks to update the legal architecture governing the TESDA to reflect over 30 years of institutional expansion, economic change, and the new legislative mandates that have accumulated since 1994 without a corresponding charter reform. So what does it do? The bill will restructure the governance of TESDA, including the replacement of the TESDA board with a board of advisors. It will upgrade the rank and the functions of the Director General. It will expand the internal structure of the TESDA Secretariat with new offices covering enterprise-based training and community skills development. It will formally incorporate new qualification types into TESDA's mandate. It will strengthen alignment between TESDA, the CHED, and the DepEd, and reorient TESDA Development Fund to support industry TVET boards and to mandate impact evaluation for scholarship programs. I think that's very important to see the to have impact evaluation for all the scholarship, because we are able to fund a lot of scholarships and sometimes we don't know whatever happens. Again, I will no longer go point by point per provision, although I have here a lot of comments. And after the TESDA bill, for which we will ask questions later, Let me proceed to the next measure. Dami nitong notes. Okay, the Philippine Professional Standards and Quality Assurance System Act. It's only one bill filed, and what is the purpose? It establishes the Philippine Professional Standards and Quality Assurance System. The core purpose is to create a permanent, legally binding coordination architecture among the three agencies that govern tertiary education and professional qualification in the Philippines. What are these? CHED, TESDA, and the Professional Regulation Commission. So I don't need to explain what these three government agencies are, but I just wanted to state that the bill proposes to resolve the overlaps through three new institutional mechanisms: a board of program standards, which is a joint decision-making body composed of the heads of CHED, TESDA, and PRC as co-chairpersons, together with the secretaries of DepEd, DOLE, and DepDev. Second, a program standard secretariat, a permanent technical and administrative support body attached to CHED, and the Skills and Standards Harmonization Council, a multi-sectoral advisory body organized by discipline or sector that brings together representatives from higher education institutions, tech-voc institutions, industry, and professional regulatory boards. Again, I will not put into the record the current legal and policy framework. We all know that. And the gaps and ambiguities in the existing law, I will hear that from you if you want to put it into the record later. And the last measure, which we will be discussing today, would be the Presidential Merit Scholarship. It institutionalizes the Presidential Merit Scholarship Program and appropriates fund. It is good that we have this, but earlier we were discussing, would it be confusing because we have tulong-dunong, we have different names of scholarships. So baka ina naman, ang dami natin pinapangako, tapos mako-confuse sila, saan ba sila, sa tulong-dunong pa sila, o sa Presidential Merit Scholarship. So gusto ko marinig sa inyo, it doesn't mean just because Senator Subiri filed it or the chair filed it, that it's good, ha? Kung ayaw nyo, sabihin nyo, and you would know what's best. So this seeks to institutionalize a national merit scholarship for academically exceptional senior high school graduates who also demonstrate financial need. So I'll no longer delve into the details of this bill. It is assumed that everyone present here should have reviewed the measures that we are discussing. Having said that, I would like to recognize once again my esteemed colleague, Senator Gatchalian. Would you like to make an opening statement based on these bills that we are discussing? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman, I for today's hearing, I filed a bill, and this is the my bill is Senate Bill number 623, an act prescribing mandatory guidelines on establishment and operation of local universities and colleges. And the reason for this, Madam Chairman, is to have a framework and some form of regulation to all of our local universities and colleges. The LUC category in the higher education institution is the fastest growing category among all the LUCs. And right now, we have the SUCs, we have private, we have LUCs, and LUCs is the fastest growing. Right now, we have 170 LUCs operating across the country. And in my opinion, the LUCs play a very important role in delivering education to our local level, to our local government, to our local jurisdictions. And they cater to the poorest of the poor. No? In my experience as a former mayor, nakita ko yung mga estudyante ho natin, ito yung pinakamahihirap na ultimong pamasahe, nahihirapan silang bayaran ng pamasahe. So they would rather study locally, no, in a local university or college. On top of that, LUCs are normally attuned to the local needs of their locality. For example, kami sa Valenzuela, our LUC, yung pamantasan ng lungsod ng Valenzuela, we offer courses that cater to our business community, to our industries. Because Valenzuela is largely an industrial town, so our courses cater to the business community, the industrial entities in Valenzuela. Nag-offer kami ng engineering, accountancy, business. So yung mga nag-aaral po sa PLV, ang job offering nila doon din sa Valenzuela. However, looking at the latest data, out of the 170 LUCs, 59 lang or 101 ang may institutional recognition, 59 ang walang institutional recognition. So, in other words, we are now encountering issues of quality. No? 34% ng mga LUCs walang institutional recognition. Kung walang institutional recognition, that means may problema sila sa quality, may problema sila sa mga requirements ng CHED, and in effect, hindi rin sila makakakuha ng free higher education. No? So what we aim to do is to have a framework for the establishment of LUCs. Hindi natin pipigilin sila. We'll encourage the establishment of LUCs, but we will make sure that from the onset, of quality na sila. No? Meaning they will now be required to follow the CHED regulations from the onset. Ngayon kasi nangyari, establishment muna bago CHED regulation. So babalik ta rin natin. They have to follow CHED regulation before establishing so that we will be assured that the LUC is of quality. So, Madam Chairperson, this is in essence the proposal that I set forth to this committee, and I hope that the committee can pursue the discussion, and also will get inputs from our resource person on how to improve this proposal further. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And just for the record, Senator Gatchalian, aside from being chair of the Committee on Finance, is also vice chair of this committee. And that's a reason also why we made that the first bill to be considered. Because you're correct, 170 LUCs, but only, I don't know if you mentioned it, 111?
111.
Yeah, hold valid institutional recognition. So over a third of the publicly funded operate without meeting the minimum requirements. So we have to settle that problem. I gave an overview on the 6 measures. May we hear from EDCOM? Are you ready? What you will present, is it different from what we already said? Because if it's different, we will listen. If it's repetitive, then we can just go to the discussions.
We could focus, ma'am, on the points that were not yet mentioned.
Oh, sige.
Yes.
Okay, please proceed.
All right. Can we have the slides, please? Sige. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, and to our commissioners, both Senator Lauren and Sen Win as co-chairs and commissioners of EDCOM 2. Next slide. Also to all of our partners in education. The measures under discussion for the committee today are priority measures of EDCOM for the 20th Congress. And these are the 6 measures that have been put forward by our legislators in our 3-year work of studying the different challenges of TVET and higher education. Next slide. This is also born out of the 3 researches that were published in the last 3 years concerning TVET and higher education, which I believe many of you have also seen and reviewed. Next slide. Just to focus on the bill on the governance of LUCs. Next slide. As just to reiterate the point of Senator Win, that yes, the fastest growing, both in terms of number of institutions, but also in terms of number of students, is in the LUCs. Next slide. Next slide. But we would like to highlight one thing. Next. That when you compare the program offerings of LUCs, SUC main campuses, and SUC satellite campuses, there are practically no differences in terms of the program offerings, meaning to say the differentiation that we would have desired in a higher education system that ensures diverse program offerings, given their respective clientele, mandates, and differences in terms of the mandates and missions of these institutions. What we are seeing, even with private HEIs in the last 30 years, is a homogenization of program offerings, all focusing on teacher education, despite the lack of many professionals that we are seeing we suffer from as a country, as well as business administration. For SUCs, main, satellite, and LUCs, ang top offering, EDUC at saka business ad. Pagdating po sa healthcare, pagdating sa agriculture, kulang na ng offerings despite many vacancies across the country for very specialized skills across disciplines and industries. Next slide. We also tried to resolve one issue that has constrained many LUCs. Pag tinignan po natin ang salary grades ng mga LUCs, ibang-iba yan from SUCs kasi discounted po ang rates nila. Totoo naman. Kung ang SUC po, 100% ng SG12 to SG14, pag instructor ka sa isang LUC, 65% lamang yan. Ibig sabihin, you are trying to hire the same professional with the same credential, but you can pay less because you are an LUC because of the current structural challenges faced by LUCs that have not been resolved through legislation. Nag-iiba pa po yan, lalo na for municipalities. If you are a first class, you can pay 90% of the rate of an SUC. If you are in a fifth class, 70%. So it becomes a vicious cycle that the poorer you are, the less able you are to recruit good faculty and therefore less quality education. And so it is a vicious cycle of poor quality because to begin with, you are in from a poorer LGU income class. And this is really the challenge that we are facing also, and is felt by many of our LUCs. Next slide. I highlighted in neon those that we wanted to highlight today, that the only law that really governs the creation of LUCs is, apart from BP 232, is the Local Government Code of 1991, which is again almost 40 years old. The varying levels of receptiveness towards regulation, which was mentioned by the chair, by Senator Win, but also to highlight, bago po magkaroon ng universal access to quality tertiary education, which was authored by our esteemed legislators today, practically very few or almost no LUC was looking for CHED recognition. The only incentive was because it was suddenly tied to scholarships that were given through free higher education, that suddenly they are asking for CHED recognition, giving us a sense of quality assurance. But even so, there are multiple LUCs still without QA mechanisms, still without compliance to CHED recognition. Next slide. And so what are the proposed features of the bill? It creates mandatory guidelines for establishing and operating LUCs. Uunahin yung pagiging compliant sa CHED standards kaysa create agad, comply later. It formally provides also TESDA oversight functions, because if you look at in the landscape study that was done by EDCOM, if you look around the world, these are essentially also community colleges that are supposed to also offer TVET programs on higher skill training. But because we have tried to just duplicate what schools were already offering, pare-parehas na po tayo ng offerings, walang differing levels in terms of skilling qualifications. Yung mga LUCs, kahit na hirap mag-offer ng PhD, magbibigay pa ng PhD, mag-offer din ng PhD para maging university. We are also proposing the creation of a division in CHED to be named the Local Universities and Colleges Affairs Division, because palaki po ng palaki at padami ng padami, pero walang dedicated people ang CHED to really support the LUCs, both in a regulatory but also in a developmental way to cater to their very unique needs. Next slide. It also prescribes the composition and powers of the LUCs governing board, which is similar to all proposed measures in the House and in the Senate in terms of providing standard leadership and governance in LUCs. And also it encourages LUCs to prioritize the offering of stackable credentials in TVET and higher education, which is consistent with our directions in ladderized education, Philippine Qualifications Framework, and most recently, the Lifelong Learning Law. And so the proposed measures, which was filed by our chair today, really captures all of these findings and provides solutions so that we are able to update the governance of LUCs, able to carve out a specific niche that is a felt need of many students and communities nationally, and also provide real quality assurance and governance for our LUCs towards sustainability. Thank you, Madam Chair. This is for the LUCs.
I think you can give your comments to all already because I did a clean sweep of the 6.
All right. Will do, ma'am. Thank you. Next slide. On proposed amendments to RA 8292, this is the SUC Modernization Act of 1997. Ito po ay anak din nung unang EDCOM noong 1993 na ibatas noong 1997, providing the similar structure and governance for the SUC boards. Next slide. In our consultations with PASUC, and they are here to also provide further inputs. These were the issues that we were sense that the EDCOM sense needed to be addressed. One is to provide differentiated autonomy, and how is that defined? It is for CHED to provide SUCs with a framework for differentiated autonomy, granting increasing levels of self-governance to SUCs that are able to meet national standards on three aspects: quality, accountability, and relevance. And autonomy is operationalized in three manners: academic management, fiscal management, and administrative affairs. Bakit po ganito? In the EDCOM hearing on RA 8292, ang lumabas po yung mga ibang SUCs hirap na hirap kasi sometimes even basic approvals goes all the way to the CHED office for signature. Hindi sila makaakto kahit sila naman kaya naman nilang i-handle in their own capacity. And so we are not saying give everyone automatic autonomy. We are saying those with the track record of delivering quality, give them increasing or progressing levels of autonomy so that then they could truly innovate without really being fitted into one-size-fits-all structures and policies. It also provides mandatory certification for board members. Bakit po ganito? Ang sabi po ng mga SUC presidents nung in-interview po namin at nagka-survey, minsan daw po ang pinapadala ng mga ibang legislators, pag may representatives or ng iba't ibang mga offices, kung sino lang yung mapapunta ng meeting, yun na yung uupo. Minsan, hindi naman naiintindihan, ano ba yung issue sa higher education? Ano ba yung role nila as a representative of that legislator or representative of that office? Dito po nililinaw, yes, parehas pa rin, legislators will have ex officio representatives, but all the representatives will need to go through mandatory certification so they know actually what their roles are and that they are empowered to be able to contribute substantively in those discussions. Naglagay din po dito ng Philippine Education Academy or Leadership Academy, which only institutionalizes current efforts of CHED to work with the Development Academy of the Philippines for proper succession planning, leadership training of potential leaders and presidents of our SUCs, because we can't plan pag nandyan na, pag may vacancy na or parating na ang vacancy. Dapat it is sustained in terms of looking for potential leaders and investing in them. Next slide. In terms of the proposed amendments to the CHED and TESDA charters, next slide. We also want to highlight that both charters were products of the first EDCOM review and recommendations, which is now 32 years old. Yung iba dito kasing tandanan ng CHED at TESDA in terms of age, yung iba dito bata pa nung naipasa ito. Pero matagal na po masyado at kailangan ng i-update kasi iba na po ang pangailangan ng panahon ngayon. Next slide. Actually, CHED was birthed because of the EDCOM 1 finding before that we now need to allow DEX, which is since become DepEd, to focus on basic education because we were already facing a big challenge on literacy. Sabi nila, ihiwalay natin si DEX, tanggalin natin yung culture, yung sports, tanggalin natin yung TVET and higher education para yung basic ed, makatutok sa basic ed, para yung literacy problem natin ma-resolve. And yet, 32 years after, we are still faced with the same situation, problematizing literacy, but also still figuring out so what has then improved since the creation of CHED and TESDA. Next slide. When it comes to CHED, these were the findings of the first EDCOM. Large enrollments, but distribution is imbalanced. Underinvestment and poor quality, lack of fit between programs and graduates versus employment and needs of society. And maybe we will ask our different stakeholders today to respond if this is still the problems we are facing today or no longer, as well as limited and underdeveloped graduate education. More or less, we are still facing similar concerns today, 32 years after the creation of what should have been the governance response to solve these constraints. Next slide. TESDA, on the other hand, was a consolidation, actually, of three different units: the NMYC, the BTVE, and the Bureau of Local Employment under DOLE. Next slide. The intention, according to Senator Herrera in 1991, was for the authority to primarily be responsible for planning, coordinating, and monitoring technical education and skills development in both public and private sectors. But what has happened since? TVET has grown significantly with more than 4,000 TVIs today, but also the TESDA has not just become oversight, they are also still offering through public TVIs nationwide. Next slide. As has been alluded to earlier, since 1994, hindi po nabawasan, nadagdagan pa ang trabaho ng CHED at ng TESDA. Talagang napakaraming batas adding responsibilities, but sometimes not adding people, sometimes not adding resources to the work of both CHED and TESDA. This is for CHED, and the next slide is for TESDA. Talagang marami pong additional responsibilities. Kaya pag tiningnan po natin yung charter nila from 1994, ibang-iba na sa ginagawa today. Hindi po siya exhaustive, ma'am. Kasi hindi na magkasya. Masyadong madami. Sorry. Apologies.
Baka hindi alam ng TESDA kasi, noong 207, meron niya yung barangay kabuhayan sa 4th and 5th and 6th. Wala dyan eh.
Yes,
Kasi
po.
ako yung principal author no, kaya sabi ko.
May
2000
special provision po kami sa for that.
2007 or 15? 208. O yun,
2008.
18 years ago. O
Wow.
naalala ko pa yung batas ko noong 2008. Bata pa tayo noon.
So yes, ma'am. So lahat tayo nadagdagan ng wisdom, sila nadagdagan ng trabaho, pero kulang ng tao, yung mandato iba pa base sa batas noong 1994. Next slide. In our hearing, sabi po ng CHED ni Director Biglete na dating CHED Director, sabi niya in terms of monitoring and evaluation, CHED is really so limited. Dumami na since 1994 ang number of HEIs, dumami na ang number ng programs, pero yung tao talagang napakalayo pa rin. Next slide. This is an example, Madam Chair, of the ratio of CHED personnel versus the number of college programs they actually need to supervise. In CHED Region 4, for example, or Calabarzon, there is only one person, assumedly, for 191 programs to monitor during the year. Paano mo iisa-isahin lahat yun? And this even includes already the admin personnel, yung utility, yung security guard, yung driver. Kaya pag sinabi natin quality higher education, how will we do that when one person needs to monitor about 400 programs because of the high number of programs and responsibilities given to CHED, including scholarships, among others. Next slide. Ganon din po sa TESDA. The blue line is the authorized position. The yellow line are the number of TVIs they would need to oversee. Yung programs po, doble pa niyan. Next slide. The budget allocations also have increased tremendously. Just in the last 10 years, for CHED, talagang bumulusok, and also for SUCs, yung budget nila. In the first report of EDCOM in 2024, ang lumabas po doon parang quadrupled 600% increase in budget of CHED since before, pero ang taong nadagdag 100 or 200 people. Next slide. When it comes to TESDA budget, from 1994, with less than 1 billion, it is now reaching up to 22 billion. But the manpower has also barely increased through the years. Next slide. For the CHED Charter, the following amendments are proposed. Next slide. First, to establish again a system of classifying HEIs based on differentiated autonomy. And what do we mean by here? Madam Chair, today, ang lahat ng universities sa Pilipinas at lahat ng colleges, pag hindi maging kamukha ni UP na may research, na may graduate degrees, na may research publication, bawal maging excellent, hindi kayang maging quality, walang autonomy. That is not realistic in a higher education institution and sector that must cater to different mandates, different programs. Sana po yung iba dapat can focus on skilling without being required for all of their faculty to have PhDs and research publications. We are working on a one-size-fits-all model of quality which no longer fits the context of our country and our society today. Next slide. Next slide. It also creates an office to institutionalize ladderized education and micro-credentials and non-traditional learning, which is really the direction of the world in the years ahead. All of this will be stackable credentials, but we have no capacity currently to figure that out proactively. Next slide. For the TESDA Charter, Madam Chair, next slide. The proposed amendments are as follows: to replace the board of TESDA currently to become a board of advisors, because ngayon po, ang TESDA Director General parang executive director. Kailangan ang lahat ng approvals pupunta sa board, at yung board minsan from 11 people, minsan nagiging 22 people because kayang dagdagan ng presidente, depende kung ganong karami niya gusto. Pag sinabing 30, bago magka-quorum talagang hindi na maabot-abot yung number na kailangan, and lahat ng approvals, even setting of fees to be charged for each program pumupunta sa TESDA board, and it really straitjackets the agency in being able to move fast. Ang training regulations, any new guideline needs to go through the board and meets only several times a year. Kaya nadidelay din po ang paglabas ng program. It restructures the TESDA Secretariat to add an office for EBET and also for community and local skills development. And it also formally again devolves the responsibility of community-based technical education to LGUs, consistent with the findings and recommendations of the first EDCOM. Next slide. Next slide. The next item, ma'am, is the Philippine Professional Standards and Quality Assurance System Act, which is a long word to say something that is actually revolutionary. Next slide. There are 45 professional boards laws in the country governing 46 boards and college programs. Ito po, lahat ng mga boards na create in the last decades. 11 were passed before CHED, 34 were passed after CHED. Meanwhile, the CHED Charter authorizes CHED to set minimum standards for curriculum, for faculty qualifications, and for facilities. But what we have found is if you review all of these laws for dentistry, optometry, nursing, lahat po, 9 laws actually describe and put in the law, written in stone, program length, structure, facility requirements. May mga batas po na nakalagay 50 beds pero 1950 pa po sinet yung batas. Hanggang ngayon 50 beds kasi hindi pa rin po mabago dahil yun yung nakasulat more than 50 years ago. 36 professional laws are also so restrictive, detailing what exact topics the licensure exams should cover. And what is the challenge? Kung kailangan ng magbago yung curriculum kasi iba na yung needs ng profession, hindi sila makapagbago because the law explicitly states what the topics should be. So kung 1970s yung topics, hindi pwedeng baguhin ngayon kasi matagal nang naisulat sa batas. And 16 set minimum guidelines for field practice hours which CHED cannot change. But also there are no mechanisms for either CHED or PRC to discuss and solve these overlaps in mandate jointly. Next slide. These are the listing of some of the laws for pre and post CHED creation. Next slide. And these are some examples. In the optometry law of 1995, nakalagay doon at least 6 years. And therefore, if CHED suddenly desires 5 years na lang and 5 months, bawal. Kasi nakalagay sa batas 6 years. So kahit sabihin ng CHED, bawasan na natin because may K-12 na, hindi pwede. Kasi 6 years nakabatas. The same with dentistry. 2-year certificate in dental hygiene. Pag sinabi po ni TESDA na kaya yan ng 8 months, hindi pwede. Kasi nasa batas 2 years. Next slide. Kaya po dito, Madam Chair, bumabalik yung question ng mga ibang legislators na bakit hindi nabawasan yung program duration ng mga courses post K-12? In some programs, hindi po pwede kasi may batas. Some of the laws go as far as detailing. In nursing, for example, faculty must be licensed nurses, 1-year clinical experience, member of an accredited board, and a master's degree in nursing, education, or related health field. Napakahirap pero walang mababago si CHED kasi nakasulat na yan sa batas. The same for guidance and counseling. DepEd has 4,000 vacant guidance counseling positions, but the law is explicit that before you can even take the boards, kailangan may master's degree ka in guidance and counseling. And there are so many regions in the country without a single provider of masters in guidance and counseling. Next slide. And so what does the proposed bill put forward? To create a board of program standards that would allow CHED, TESDA, and PRC to jointly review, unify, update, and address redundancies when they so arise. Next slide. It establishes also skills and standards harmonization councils that puts together professional board members, technical panels, and industry board members so that these are all aligned jointly instead of in silos. Next slide. And just to highlight, Madam Chair, that the bill also, in the ongoing developments in the House, will include a special line or a transitory provision or repealing clause that repeals very specific provisions of the 45 laws that are contrary to the mandates of CHED and TESDA, which actually empowers them to dictate or identify what those guidelines should be in terms of faculty qualifications and facilities. Finally, Madam Chair, the Presidential Merit Scholarship Act, next slide. Just to say that we feel that it is a high time to invest in our best and brightest talent, but only if we could make sure that they are filling very specific needs of our country. In the EDCOM final report, we have identified some programs where there is a dearth of professionals across the country and in many regions, especially in Mindanao, for all of these programs. As long as the Presidential Merit Scholarship is able to channel our best talent to the most competitive programs in these areas, then we are helping serve our country, fill our need while fulfilling their potential. Salamat po, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Very comprehensive, as always. May we hear from Dr. Shirley Agrupis, and you may comment on Bill 1 to the last bill. If you want to skip, that's fine. Which of the 6 measures are you passionate about, which you think we must prioritize, but actually we intend to pass all if everyone agrees? Then we can hear from Dr. Ronquillo of PASOK, and then the others as well. Thank you. And Sec Benitez.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Chair of the Higher and Technical Committee in the Senate, and of course the Chair of the Finance. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. On behalf of the Commission on Higher Education, kami po ay nagpapasalamat sa ating mahal na senador para sa inyong patuloy na tiwala at suporta sa komisyon at sa pagsusulong ng kalidad, access at kahusayan sa ating higher education system. Kami rin po ay nagpapasalamat sa aming frenemy sa trifocal education system for boldly and honestly and sincerely defining the gaps and perfectly defining also the recommendation that we need to address. The measures before us today, strengthening the CHED Charter, enhancing SUC governance, institutionalizing LUC governance, and advancing the Presidential Merit Scholarship Program are both timely and central to our priorities in the Commission under the CHED Achieve agenda. Hence, CHED supports these reforms as part of building a more coherent and accountable higher education system. At the same time, we underscore that governance reforms must uphold core standards, particularly in leadership qualifications, clear institutional roles, and effective oversight to preserve the integrity of our institutions. For SUCs, we support a more unified governance framework while ensuring that board structures remain efficient and leadership standards remain strong. For LUCs, we strongly advocate for a standards-based pathways to institutionalization where establishment, program, offerings, and access to public support are anchored on demonstrated capacity, compliance, and quality assurance. Kami po ay nagpapasalamat sa strong recommendation ng EDCOM 2 na baliktarin ang procedure that before a local government unit will bring their proposal to the legislators, it should pass through the evaluation and recommendation of CHED. We likewise thank our honorable senators for supporting the vision of President Ferdinand R. Marcos in expanding opportunities for deserving students through the Presidential Merit Scholarship Program. We have already created an online platform. We already approved the guidelines of implementation adhering to the recommendation of EDCOM, giving priorities to the EDCOM priority programs. And we developed an equation to make sure that the slot should be equitable across regions where they produce senior high school, Honorable Chair. Guided by the CHED agenda, we remain committed to higher education system that is accessible, globally competitive, and responsive to national development. We have summarized our specific comments to the different laws. If this is my last chance to really bring to the tables to enhance our stand, we submitted to Senator Lauren, and if the time permits, I would just like to manifest a special section which I think it was just a failure on our side because I signed already our recommendation, but I want to focus on Section 5 and Section 10. Honorable Chairs. 772. Yeah, the law that strengthened the power of the higher education institution. The Section 5, the term of chair and commissioners, it is very explicit. And thank to the Congress that they retain the 4 years term of chair and commissioners, renewable for 1 term. However, in the transitory period, it states a 6-year automatic term. So I express the reason why I oppose the 6 years automatic transitory term. So it is my request that we should maintain the 4-year term subject to the Section 5 in the proposed bill. Also, Madam Chair, I would like also to manifest in Section 10, kasi naisulat na noon dito and I signed it, that the term of the Secretariat and Executive Director should be aligned to the term of chairperson and commissioners. It should not be immortal. Because they are all presidential appointee. And 6 years and immortal is too long for an inefficient commissioners or executive director. Thank you.
You did not comment on the others. Did you finish the 6?
Yes, Madam Chair.
And you
All the
submitted-
rest are written in
Are
our...
written and submitted
Yes,
to
po.
the record.
Yeah, what I brought out here are those not covered in our
In the
manifestation
submission.
submitted.
Thank you. Do we have a copy of that? The submission, yes. May we hear from Pasok, Dr. Tirso Ronquillo. You may comment on the 6 bills, or you may specify which applies to Pasok, to the SUCs. Thank you.
Good afternoon, my dear colleagues in government service. Of course, first and foremost, to the chair of the Committee on Higher and Technical Vocational Education of the Senate, Senator Loren Legarda, and of course, the chair of the Senate Committee on Finance, Senator Win Gatchalian, to all our friends from the Commission on Higher Education, from TESDA and from EDCOM, to all of us, magandang hapon po. The 113 state universities and colleges are thankful of this opportunity to express our position on some bills that will affect or will shape our SUCs in the coming years. There are 6 bills, but I will be highlighting only some points which we feel needing some emphasis. Well, we have submitted our position paper to the Office of the Good Chair. Now, maybe on the Senate Bill 1036 and Senate Bill 1427 on strengthening the Commission on Higher Education, repealing for the purpose Republic Act number 7722, otherwise known as the Higher Education Act of 1994, and for other purposes. Well, some of the position of PASOK were highly clarified or presented by our ED of EDCOM 2, Dr. Carol Marquis. Now, I will just be mentioning some of the position of our association. On Senate Bill 1036, PASOK recommends that curriculum oversight be clearly defined as outcomes-based and non-prescriptive, ensuring that academic institutions retain authority over curricular design. Now, on quasi-judicial and enforcement of powers, PASOK expressed our reservation on giving CHED quasi-judicial powers. As presented by the ED of EDCOM 2, CHED needs a lot of support in terms of human resource. Imagine you have 200:1 ratio of staff as to programs being supervised. If we will give them this quasi-judicial power, it will it will definitely occupy the quality assurance roles of CHED. And I don't know if CHED will be similar to civil service after that. So we, just to avoid duplication or complication of possible assumption of roles with civil service, I think we believe that CHED, just to increase the quality of higher education in the Philippines, should focus on safeguarding quality. Sa totohanan po, ang dami nga ng kulang ng staff ng CHED in different regions as presented by the figures of EDCOM. And I think that should be the focus of our new law. Now, I, of course, thank EDCOM for supporting the differentiated autonomy. I think that is, those are words of PASOK in some of our EDCOM deliberation. And I thank EDCOM and even CHED for considering that differentiated autonomy. That as we experience, the one-size-fits-all approach is no longer applicable. We should understand that SUCs now, as we have 113, come in different sizes, maybe in different shape, and in different mandates. So a one-size-fits-all formula is illogical. Also, if we may note, the current SUC labeling criteria, which is being adopted, use the one-size-fits-all, which I think the differentiated autonomy and typology-based approach will address such a dilemma, if I may say. Now, on explicit safeguard institutional autonomy and academic freedom, affirm the independence of SUCs and ensure that CHED's reasonable supervision remains within policy standards and oversight functions without extending to institutional management and operational decision-making. A shift towards outcomes-based and enabling regulation, I have seen in the presentation of EDCOM ED on the self-governance. And I think our SUCs must be given more on self-regulation or self-regulation or self-governance, but there must be checkpoints. After some years, they must be evaluated, monitored, and I think CHED must be more on monitoring and really supervising our SUCs in terms of outcomes. Now, institutionalized coordinated governance and stakeholder participation. We recommend that the current bill should strengthen interagency coordination and stronger representation of SUCs in policy formulation that affect our sectors. A provision may be included for the creation of formal advisory or consultative body with representation from PASOK and other stakeholders. On the, Madam Chair, I will now be going to the Senate Bill 706 and Senate Bill 1414, amending Republic Act 8292 to strengthen the governance of state universities and colleges. Now, on governing boards, power and role clarity. PASOK supports professionalized governing boards that exercise policymaking, strategic oversight, and fiduciary accountability. However, governing boards must not assume operational or managerial functions which remain vested in the SUC president as chief executive officer, consistent with Republic Act 8292. On differentiated autonomy, that's also included in the same bill. The introduction of differentiated autonomy is among the most significant reforms in Senate Bill number 1414. PASOK strongly supports this approach as it recognizes institutional diversity, encourages performance-based governance, and reduces the one-size-fits-all approach. Now, on the representation of non-teaching personnel in the governing board. The inclusion of a non-teaching personnel representative in the governing board of state, universities, and colleges is supported by PASO, provided that such representation is institutional in character and not sectoral. Now, the number of prominent citizens in the governing board. The proposed amendments under Senate Bill number 706 and Senate Bill number 1414 increase or modify the number of prominent citizens in the governing board of state, universities, and colleges without articulating a clear policy rationale for the proposed number. Currently, we have 2 seats for the prominent citizen or the private sector. Why 2 prominent citizens are sufficient? PASOK submits that 2 prominent citizens are sufficient to achieve the intended governance objectives for the following reasons: adequate external balance without overrepresentation, preservation of academic character and internal balance, governance efficiency and decisions quality, and absence of demonstrated governance failure. Now, on TESDA Director General as co-chair in Polytechnic and Technological Universities. We recognize and respect our Director General, Secretary Kiko Benitez. Okay. PASOK recognizes the importance of close coordination with TESDA. However, designating the TESDA Director General as co-chair of SUC Governing Board is not advisable, or we pose our serious reservation on making TESDA Director General the co-chair of SUC Governing Board. Why co-chairmanship is problematic? PASOK respectfully submits that designating TESDA Director General as co-chair of SUC Governing Board raises significant governance concerns. First, blurring of institutional jurisdiction. As co-chair role implies shared leadership over institutional direction. TESDA as an external regulatory and implementing agency does not have constitutional or statutory responsibility for governing degree-granting higher education institutions. Co-chairmanship risks subordinating university governance priorities to a sectoral mandate not fully aligned with higher education objectives. Second, conflict with the role of the SUC president. Under Republic Act 8292, the SUC president is the chief executive officer of the institution. The chair of the governing board provides strategic oversight, not executive control. Introducing a co-chair from an external agency risks creating dual centers of influence over institutional leadership, undermining the authority and accountability of the SUC president, generating ambiguity as to who sets strategic direction and who evaluates executive performance. This structure weakens rather than strengthens accountability. On qualification of SUC president, policy issue, whether allowing a master's degree as the minimum academic qualification for appointment as president of a state universities or colleges is strengthened or weakens SUC leadership. PASOK respectfully submit that lowering minimum qualification to a master's degree raises significant institutional and system-wide concern, particularly for universities. The SUC president as academic leader. SUC president is not merely an administrator, but chief academic officer. It must be emphasized, or it should be emphasized, that in charters of state universities and colleges, the president acts as the chairman of the academic council. In the deliberation, he should steer the council into the substance of every academic programs or programs presented in the council. How can we expect the chief academic officer to interact fully well if the qualification is subsumed to any of the member, or I may say lower than any of the members of the council? I think to preserve the academic integrity of the university, and of course, Madam Chair, if the president is master's degree, we cannot avoid a very arrogant academic council member or any of the university's stakeholder will say, sino naman yung presidente, hindi naman tapos siya ng doctorate degree. We don't want our president to be humiliated by any member of our academic community. So the president must have the highest ascendancy in the university in terms of academic qualification. On 6-year term with the reappointment of SUC President. PASOK support retaining the current 4-year term, renewable once for another 4 years for the following reasons. I think this aligns with the thoughts of our CHED chair, Dr. Agrupis, on the matter. Balance between stability and accountability. A 4-year term provides sufficient time for a president to implement a strategic initiative while allowing earlier performance review. Imagine if you are running the president for 6 years, the board may not intervene or cannot intervene until the end of the 6 years. While if we can evaluate the running president for 4 years, then we can decide whether we can allow the president to continue running the show or running the university. Now, as initially articulated, 6 years is too long for a bad president, but 4 years is too short for a good one. Hence, we should give the president, after meritorious evaluation, another 4-year term. On transitory limitation on presidential term following SUC conversion. On arbitrary and unequal treatment across SUCs, recent legislative and charter developments reveal inconsistent treatment of incumbent presidents, where some are allowed 2 terms post-conversion, while others are limited to only 1 term. This divergence, absent clear and uniform standards, introduces arbitrariness in policy application and raises concerns on equity among institutions and predictability of governance rules. On the importance of performance-based continuity, PASOK reiterates that the 4-year performance evaluation serves as a built-in safeguards and clear decision point for reappointment, enabling governing boards to determine leadership continuity based on demonstrated performance. As we may check, Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, there are charters of SUCs that allow, after conversion to state college, some president to go for 2 terms. And the other is limited to only 1 term. Our position is the reappointment is not automatic. After a term, a president can be evaluated and the board may decide if he really merits reappointment. I think instead of gambling and after all finding a bad one, why not evaluate the good one? And if he merits reappointment, I think he must be given. Just to tell you the situations on the ground, Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, there are SUCs where there are no applicants. We can find hard time having good presidents. Now, if you have good president, why not allow after 4 years? And I think systematic evaluation to continue running the university because, you know, maybe the problem of our education system now is we lack quality leaders that will really be at the helm of running the university in terms of academics, in terms of research, and in terms even of good governance. So I think we must allow the good ones after meritorious evaluation. Now, maybe on the last part, Madam Chair, this is on the limited and express supplementary application. I think this is a language pertaining to how national universities must be regarded. The act should apply to national universities and SUCs with special charter only insofar as provisions are not inconsistent with the respective charters. In case of conflict, the special charter must prevail. Respect for differentiated autonomy, national universities, and special mandate SUCs should retain governance arrangements appropriate to their national role. Higher levels of autonomy commensurate with mandate and capacity, and charter-based authority over internal organization and leadership. I think the reason why we allow or we accord that designation or recognition to a state university in national character, they can be entrusted of those autonomy, whether fiscal or institutional. Now, PASOK suggests this language. This act shall apply in supplementary manner to national universities and associates with special charters or mandates, only insofar as its provision are not inconsistent with their respective charters. In case of conflict, the special charter shall prevail. Such institution shall enjoy a higher degree of academic, administrative, and fiscal autonomy. Harmonization with CHED standards shall be facilitative and shall not diminish or override their charter-based powers, governance structures, and institutional flexibilities established by law. So, Madam Chair, in terms of our comments in other bills, I think we have submitted to our office our position. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ronquillo. May we hear from Secretary Benitez? You may comment only insofar as TESDA is concerned, or on all the measures. We would welcome that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to articulate the need.
Before you proceed, we have the president of the LUCs online. I saw him earlier. I failed to recognize him. Dr. Arcega. Yes, thank you.
Senator. Good
Thank you
afternoon.
very much. Yes. We proceed with Director General Benitez. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will, in fact, begin my statements with particularly the TESDA Modernization Act, and then proceed to make some comments on the other bills, but very perfunctory, I suppose. We would like to thank the committee and Madam Chair for the opportunity to articulate the need to further modernize and strengthen TESDA, particularly in the technological shifts in the world of work towards skills training and more particularly lifelong learning, as well as the establishment of an awareness of the seamless occupational pathways and career progressions that the PQF National Coordinating Council and the three trifocal education agencies are endeavoring to put together even as we speak. At the outset, we would like to express our full support both for this process and for all the measures actually being discussed, and also to highlight na mukhang tuhog-tuhog hunga naman talaga silang lahat. They are all somehow interrelated. The intention of the bill on TESDA is very clear: to modernize TESDA so it can meet industry demands and enhance the employability of Filipino learners and workers in a much more efficient and responsive manner, and one that goes with the modern world of work. For this modernization to be meaningful, it must be defined as a strengthening of systems through the reorganization and rationalization of functions and the improvement of facilities. While we remain neutral regarding the specific form that this reorganization may ultimately take, and leaving the decision of the status of TESDA to the wisdom of Congress, we recognize the timeliness of this undertaking under the Government Optimization Act. Siguro, I would also like to highlight na malinaw naman sa slides ng EDCOM na kulang po ang tao ng TESDA. Pero siguro sasabihin ko na rin na mas kulang ang tao ng CHED. Pareho po kaming kulang ng tao. Sa totoo lang. Historically,
is it because DBM has not provided the plantilla positions?
yes, ma'am.
Because you are provided but you're not able to fill it up because there are no qualified persons?
Ang amin po, we are at around 90% filled. But we do have a problem with filling the plantilla positions with those specialists of TVET competency-based curriculum and processes and so on. So both po are true. Historically, TESDA has been burdened by structural contradictions, acting as regulator, provider, and assessor, which EDCOM 2 frenemy Karl Marquis described as being judge, jury, and executioner. To resolve this, the bill proposes transitioning the TESDA board into an advisory and recommendatory body. We would also, in addition, like to propose the establishment of actually an independent arm's length competency assessment and certification body for the agency to ensure quality assurance in TVET, foregrounding that this must need to be complementary, in fact, to the Philippine Standards System and Quality Assurance Act that is being proposed with the PRC and CHED. To ensure industry-led growth, the private sector must outnumber government representatives in the TESDA board. Furthermore, to ensure a right-sized bureaucracy that can also be with the changing nature of the agency's mandate over time to future-proof the processes. The Director General should have, we feel, the authority to determine the organizational structure and staffing patterns to create bureaus that reduce reliance, in fact, on contractual personnel. We must also empower our regional and provincial TESD committees to tailor policies to unique local contexts and industry TVET boards to provide direct policy and curriculum alignment, participation in policy and curriculum alignment, in particular with developing workforce development plans and local labor market intelligence systems. In fact, as part of empowering LGUs in both TVET delivery, as well as our eventual devolution, which is also in the bill. Regarding the devolution of TVET functions to LGUs, we are committed to ensuring that affected TESDA personnel are not displaced, providing for their retraining and transfer as LGUs assume greater responsibility for community-based training and delivery. This assumes, after all, that LGUs have the readiness to take charge and responsibility for community-based training. Not all LGUs are like Valenzuela, Madam Chair. We finally propose a levy grant system administered by a dedicated corporation or even led by industry boards like that they have in the United Kingdom or in India, as well as to reorient the TESDA Development Fund, which EDCOM 2 has consistently highlighted as both underutilized and under-resourced at the same time. The TESDA Development Fund will be used to strengthen the professional development of TVET trainers and assessors and modernize training infrastructure and delivery, for which TESDA generally does not have scholarship funds for, in spite of the growing scholarship budget given to TESDA. TESDA feels that the TESDA Development Fund must be earmarked for modernization, both for industry-grade machinery, AI-driven platforms, and advanced simulators, but also the human infrastructure needed to maximize these facilities in priority sectors as dictated, in fact, by central government priorities. By legally anchoring digital systems like TESDA's Skills Passport and micro-credentialing, Congress will equip our workforce with the tools to navigate the future of work and hopefully ensuring alignment and coordination of educational delivery through LUCs as well as through community-based TVET across the trifocal agencies and PRC through the alignment with, in fact, and the orchestration of the Education Workforce Development Group. With regards to the LUC governance, TESDA will be submitting to the committee, Mr. Chair, our official paper, as well as for the Philippine Standards and Quality Assurance Act, only to highlight, though, at this point, that it is very clear that there is a need within the ecosystem of education for the function of what in the United States is called a community college and what in Australia is called the TAFE. No, this is a missing piece. And so whether we address this through a typology or a differentiated autonomy, whether this is addressed in terms of giving TESDA programs or TVET programs within LUCs and or as Dr. Ronquillo has already proposed, not have TESDA, right, as a co-chair of the board, so long as the function and intent of ensuring workforce development and planning and delivery cuts across the entire education system of tertiary education in particular. TESDA is here to find ways to ensure that that gets conducted and done. For the CHED Charter, TESDA supports its strengthening. As already mentioned, it's very clear that we have similar needs in terms of modernization. We would like to, however, highlight the need to strengthen coordination and alignment mechanisms between CHED, PRC, in fact, and TESDA, as already been mentioned as well by Dr. Ronquillo, with a clear sense of a lifelong learning framework to which we must all, in fact, be moving towards. Obviously, right now, we are all seemingly against the one-size-fits-all approach, a desire for a greater, more nuanced and refined typology and differentiated autonomy for SUCs, much like private HEIs are given. Again, right now, of course, because of our frenemy here on my left, Chair Shirley and I are constantly in conversation, but we want to make sure that what is happening in education today is institutionalized and goes beyond any personality or the terms of the people currently sitting. At this point, I'd like to simply manifest that TESDA stands ready to provide any further technical assistance in refining these legislative milestones and take part in any technical working group the chair might wish to establish moving forward to further refine and study the very specific provisions of these bills. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Director General. Next will be Mr. Arcega of the Association of Local Universities and Colleges.
Thank you so much, Senator Gatchalian, and to the esteemed members of the Senate Committee on Higher and Technical Education. First and foremost, we would like to thank Senator Gatchalian, Senator Legarda, Senator Escudero, and of course, Senator Ontiveros for spending time to propose bills for defining the framework of the establishment and operation of local colleges and universities. We would like to, of course, identify provisions that merit strong support. After reading the four proposals, from the proposal of Senator Legarda, we're happy to see a proposal to classify LUCs into ordinary LUCs or Polytechnic College or Polytechnic Institute or Polytechnic University. Also, we're happy to see in the four proposals, similar to state universities and colleges, the appointment of president through the search committee after meeting all the standards. Also, in the proposals, we're happy to see merit-based selection of presidents, ensuring that appointment to the presidency of LUC is not purely on the basis of political trust, but on the basis of their technical and professional qualifications. We're confident that with this development, LUCs will soon be similar to SUCs, where the institutions are run by people who are professional educators and not just because they're close to the appointing authority. We're also happy to see proposals that meetings be held regularly, and so with the rationalization of compensation, qualification of LUCs, inclusivity in admissions, and academic freedom and global engagement. It was emphasized in the proposal of Senator Legarda that there should be academic freedom and some sort of autonomy in the management of local universities and colleges. Moving forward, the ALCO National would like to post these discussions for purposes of enhancing the proposed bill. Number one, representation in the governing board. We would like to suggest that we include ALCO representative in the local board of LUCs and local universities and colleges. We feel the significance of having one to represent and assist fellow presidents of a concerned local universities and colleges. Sometimes it's critical for ALCO also to share some thoughts on how the university can be run properly. Second, timely selection of LUC presidents. Among all four bills proposed, common that the president, next president, that the vacancy for the next president will be filled up within 3 months immediately following the vacancy. We would like to propose, similar to SUC, that the search for presidency at least applications be processed 3 to 6 months prior to the end of the term of the incumbent president to make sure there is sustainability of leadership in LUCs. Third item is the clarification of institutional titles. In the four bills proposed, we use the word Secretary of the College or Secretary of the Board. We would like to recommend looking at the present structure that it be called College Secretary or University Secretary or Board Secretary. In the present exercise, the University Secretary is not automatically the Board Secretary. Um, the Board Secretary is usually the Secretary of the Board, but not necessarily the University Secretary. In the present setup of local colleges, University Secretary is similar to the Vice Presidents are in charge of some operational functions. So we would like to request that for purposes of you know assigning nomenclature and appointments, we define the function of University Secretary and that of the Board Secretary. Also, level of representation from CHED. There is a proposal among the four bills that the regional director of CHED can lower than the director can be assigned member of the board of LUCs. We would like to suggest that it is mandatory that the one to sit as member of the LUC board is the regional director, so that the regional director himself is accountable and responsible for the operation overseeing of the LUCs. If he's not available, he can perhaps assign as an alternate, but let it be a policy that the director, no person lower than the director, can be member of the board of LUC. It's very important that the director of CHED is personally overseeing the operations of LUC for accountability purpose. For board composition, among the four bills presented, there's a recommendation to have three members of the business and academic sector. We would like to request that it be limited to two. I guess two business academic sector representatives is not enough to be not to make the board too big, as regards its composition. We would like to request, however, that we include the Department of Science and Technology, considering now that we're trying to make researches of LUCs functional at the level of science and technology. In the last higher education summit, it was emphasized that LUCs or higher education institutions must be instrumental in the continued growth as regards areas of science and technology. So we'd like to request that we include the OST as permanent member of LUC board, because they may be other projects in the OST that is very beneficial to the operation of LUCs. And for managerial experience among the four bills, they differ. One bill proposes to have 3 years at least managerial experience, and there's one naman about 5 years. We would like to request that it be 5 years, similar to SUC, because 3 years may not be enough for someone to have that leadership maturity and skills, not to lead an organization. 3 years is too short. We would like to request that we keep the proposition of Senator Legarda and Senator Escudero and Senator Ontiveros that it be 5 years at least prior to his inclusion as candidate for presidency. For the composition of the search committee, there was a mention that the search committee may also participate in the selection of vice presidents down the line. We would like to request that the search committee be limited only for the search of the LCU president, and that the appointment of deans, vice presidents down the line, while through the board, should be upon the recommendation and prerogative of the president. It's very important that the VPs appointed are aligned also to the vision and leadership of the incumbent. For transitory provisions, there was a statement that failure to comply with all the requirements set, there will be a 3-year non-extendable compliance. I would like to request from the proponent of these four bills to consider that the period be not fixed in 3 years, because not all LUCs have the same financial capability to fix the requirements, and we don't want to see an action or a decision asking the closure of an LUC because there are a lot of students in that LUC dependent on the operation of LUCs. We would like to request, with the kindness of the committee, that it be not exactly 3 years non-extendable. As we all say, there is no one size that fits all. And while other LGUs are capable of fixing all the requirements like laboratories, MA, doctorate, and the like, transfer of ownership to LUCs, there are some who are not that capable of doing it. So instead of seeing an LUCs close for non-compliance in 3 years non-extendable, we just provide a considerable number of years, trusting the wisdom of the regional director. Please note also that while it was mentioned earlier that there are 174 and only 111 are beneficiary, and there are still 59 who do not have COPC yet and IR, we would like to clarify that some have not submitted yet for COPC because they just opened. So following the policy, they're just issued RRPA for the first year, and moving to the second, they can start applying for COPC, and moving to the third and fourth is the time that they're eligible to apply for institutional recognition. While there might be some, but not as big as 59, because this 59 just opened 2 years ago, and they're not eligible yet for institutional recognition because they need to transfer the title of the land from local government, specifically under the name of local university. And it will take time for us to issue the same. Second to the last is penalties for non-compliance. Senator Gatchalian, in his proposal, recommended 1 million, while others recommended for 500 million. We'd like to request that the amount of penalty be reconciled for non-compliance, because some non-compliance are not because they violated, but the policies has evolved. In the past, we don't have COPC, we just have government recognition. And now that we've required COPC, it's about transitioning the original government recognition to what we call today a COPC and institutional recognition. So we may want to consider the amount of the penalty for 1 million to at least 500 million, even lower, because if they're really serious complying, the penalty may not be that critical, imposable to all LUCs. And the last one, senators, yung mga LUCs po kasi when they're appointed, they were issued permanent appointment, city department head or municipal department head. Almost all LUCs, we don't have like university president or what we have. They were issued city department head 3, and that is equivalent to an item similar to other department heads of the city. And usually the appointment issued to them by the Civil Service Commission is permanent. And if it's permanent, that means they met the qualification standards and the aura of the Civil Service Commission. And here comes a policy that their term should be 4 years. No? There's a need for us to reconcile because a permanent appointment may not have a 4-year term. While we're okay having designations for 4 years and another 4 years, a maximum of 8, but we have to reconcile the appointment issued by the Civil Service Commission, making in effect the appointment permanent until the retirement. So having a term of 4 years, renewable for another term, may not coincide with the permanent appointment issued to them. And we also would like the last one. We'd like also to request the honorable members of the Committee on Higher and Technical to also consider, similar to SUC, a provision that an LUC can create a plantilla in the event which can be occupied by the outgoing president upon the end of his term. I don't know if I recall it right, in SUCs, you have the option to have your academic rank if you end your term earlier than your retirement age. We also would like to request that the LUCs be given the chance to create their plantilla items. There are at least 5 LUCs in the Philippines today who strongly and boldly created a university president item, professor, with salary grade 29. I don't know what is the basis of limiting president item only to 25 or 26. They say it can never be higher than the vice mayor and the mayor and the city department heads. But LUCs, just like SUCs, are educational institutions, and we're requiring presidents and professors to complete their doctorate and also to publish researches, double-blind, peer-reviewed scientific researches, considering the nature of the requirements for one to become a full professor and president. It may be appropriate also to allow LUCs to create items higher than the department, the items of the city in respect to their educational qualifications. So it's very critical if an LUC can afford to have items grade 29, university president or college president or full professor, grade 27, grade 29, we would appreciate that the same also be considered. So once again, thank you so much for finally putting LUCs at the center stage of also at the center stage of higher education, and our continued gratitude to Senator Ligarda, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Ontiveros, and Senator Escudero for spending time to define the framework on how should LUC be managed, established, and operated. Magandang hapon po.
Thank you, Dr. Raymond Orcega. We proceed now to the questions. Is there anyone? Yes, you may raise your hand. Okay, you may comment. I'm sorry, sila muna. Ha? Yes, yes. And then Senator Gatchalian will propound questions. Thank you. I can't see. Is Attorney John Hakome? Yes.
From Cocopea po. Madam Chair, everyone, good afternoon. The Coordinating Council of Private Educational Associations of the Philippines, the largest federation of private schools, generally supports the bills being considered today, particularly the TESDA Modernization, the Presidential Merit Scholarship Program, the Philippine Professional Standards and Quality Assurance, and the strengthening of CHED Charter. However, on the strengthening of CHED Charter, there's one major opposition that we have. We generally oppose the grant of adjudicatory or quasi-judicial powers to the Commission on Higher Education on constitutional policy and practical grounds. On constitutional grounds, of course, because of the possible infringement of our guaranteed rights to academic freedom and reasonable supervision and regulation. And on practical grounds, as mentioned a while ago, manifested the lack of personnel vis-a-vis the multifarious or numerous stakeholders of CHED, millions of students, I think 150,000 faculty members and so on. So may we be allowed to manifest our brief reasons for such opposition, Madam Chair, and may I request Attorney Peña to manifest the same.
Before you proceed, we take note of that, and do not worry, we will delete it from our bill.
Thank you.
You don't even have to explain.
Oh, thank you very much.
But you can
Granted.
because I believe that CHED was also had reservations about it as well. This was an EDCOM bill, yes, and that's what I said, and I like it that way. Don't think just because I'm the author that it should be a perfect bill. No, you know the sectors better, and if you have reservations about it or opposition even, then say so. Then we can perfect. So even before you proceed and justify your statement, I will tell you with the concurrence of the Vice Chair, we will delete that from our bill.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, for
Gusto
that.
pa niyo magpaliwanag o baka
Baliktad pa.
palagi mo na ako madaling kausap eh. O sige na. O paliwanag na rin niyo para on record. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we'll just briefly explain just the principles behind our opposition. So we don't we don't think that quasi-judicial powers are necessary if the purpose was just to close non-performing schools and other programs that don't reach the standards of the CHED. In fact, Section 16 of the current RA 7722 already gives CHED that power to issue permits and also to revoke those permits at the same time if those schools and programs don't reach those standards. Also, we banked on academic freedom, reasonable supervision, and of course, we want to we want the adjudicatory powers to be with the courts. As was mentioned numerous times already, CHED needs more people. It has to strengthen its own institutional and financial capacity, and adding this extra power might move focus away from the developmental and regulatory responsibilities of the CHED. But Madam Chair, if I may also manifest a comment on other bills, if that's all right with you. So just a quick manifestation regarding the guidelines for LUCs. So we saw here in one of the requirements for the mandatory for the establishment of LUCs is a feasibility study. We hope that aside from this feasibility study, there can be a complementarity test. So there are a lot of LUCs that are established that have redundant programs with private higher education institutions. And if we want to keep forwarding the complementarity of public and private education, there must be some way for them to help there be a healthy coexistence in those different localities. So we hope that aside from a feasibility study, there can be a complementarity test to check what are already available or already being offered by private education institutions, so that whatever the LUCs or SUCs may provide, it would be distinguished or specialized aside from what is already offered in that locality. Thank you.
Thank you. I can't see. It's
Dr. Hoxon, Your Honor, of the
Dr.
Teacher Education Council.
yes. Please proceed, Dr. Hoxton.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Your Honors, colleagues. For the Teacher Education Council, we will comment on 4 bills. The first one is on the strengthening of the Commission on Higher Education, repealing RA 7722. We will submit our position papers, but first, a manifestation that we recommend that the teacher education be carved into the law. RA 11713, of which the mandates of the Teacher Education Council comes from, already indicates particular powers for the council. In particular, it is now the Teacher Education Council that mandates the minimum requirement for teacher education. And so not clarifying that in the new law will now again pose complications and challenges moving forward. The other component that we are noting, Your Honor, is on the context of the one-size-fits-all quality assurance, which really is not working. We have the data that stipulates how our teacher education programs are actually, the quality assurance do not matter or the quality assurance do not support them properly, and so a one-size-fits-all context is always not working, but specifically for teacher education. The other component, I'm afraid to say this, Your Honor, because now what I'm about to say is contradictory to what Dr. Ronquillo and Attorney Jacome and Attorney Peña said. We prefer the quasi-judicial component and power for the Commission on Higher Ed. We don't know if EDCOM used the data for teacher ed, but this is what the data says. The teacher education, Your Honor, and by saying this, I'm also jumping into the guidelines for the establishment of LUCs. The cheapest, Your Honors, program to establish is teacher ed. The number one program that LUCs, SUCs, and private institutions actually offer is teacher education. You don't need laboratories as much. You don't need many faculty members. So we are always the guinea pig. No, the program is always the teacher ed as a guinea pig for these institutions. And the data says we have 1,655 teacher education programs, institutions offering programs in the country. CHED knows these institutions are not of quality, not all of them, but they cannot be closed because of the fear of retaliation and any other lawful acts, no? So I'm not sure, I'm not a lawyer, Your Honors, but if it is not quasi-judicial, we don't know what needs to be done, but it has to be done. That's what the Teacher Education Council is mandating. We don't know if additional people can do so, and it would help the directions to clarify further and to quality assure further teacher education. The second bill would like to commend, which is part of our bigger and larger position papers to be submitted, is on the establishing the Philippine Professional Standards and Quality Assurance System. We also recommend to the body to please carve into properly the teacher education standards, because the teacher education currently has its own set of standards adopted in the basic education. And again, the powers of the Teacher Education Council already sets those standards. So just to carve it in so that, again, complications do not arise in the future. Our next comment on amending 8292 for state universities and colleges, we recommend to the body the inclusion, Your Honor, Your Honors, the inclusion of the Department of Education to the governing board of TEIs. This is critical for us, Your Honor, because the Department of Education or whoever DepEd would recommend to represent them, which is the industry of teachers, is not represented in the highest governing body of TEIs. So kapag po pinag-uusapan ang kanilang mga produkto bilang guro at mga programa that will establish quality teaching and quality teacher education, hindi po kasama ang pinakamalaking organisasyon at employer of teachers. So we recommend that the Department of Education and the bigger ecosystem, including our private sector or our private schools, be included in the highest governing board of the SUCs, and that is the Board of Regents. Finally, Your Honor, as I've mentioned earlier, I missed out one important component for TEC, Your Honor. In the Board of Advisors for the Commission on Higher Education, we recommend that the private sector be identified to be part of the Board of Advisors. For teacher education, Your Honor, mas marami po ang private TEIs kaysa SUC and LUC. So kapag po hindi sila kasama sa nag-uusap sa mga programa, ay medyo nagkakaroon po kami ng concern in the ground and in the field. Finally, Your Honor, may I just repeat our context on our agreement, that we believe that there should be guidelines in the establishment and operations of LUCs to limit, Your Honor, the offering of teacher education in these institutions, or if they will offer teacher education, wag na po sanang English at science and math. Sana po ay mag-concentrate na sila sa kailangan, kagaya po ng special needs and inclusive ed, kagaya po ng early childhood, kulang na kulang po tayo. Wala rin po tayong career technical education, which is linked with TESDA. And finally, our values education. Kulang na kulang po yon, pero ang datos po namin para mula sa LUCs, kung ano rin po yung ino-offer ng SUC na katabi nila at ng maraming private institutions na katabi nila, yun din ang ino-offer nila. Thank you, Your Honors. We will submit our full position papers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's very helpful. And I told them to do a matrix so that we could take that in consideration in the measures that we are studying. Thank you. May we proceed?
Madam Chair.
Miss, is it Miss Isaac?
Irene
Is that your name?
Ma'am, good
Thank you.
afternoon, Senator Lagarda, Senator Gatchalian. In Republic Act 7796, there is a definition of middle-level manpower. And the current definition is middle-level manpower is between basic education and higher education. But that's how it is. This now relates to definition of tertiary education. It becomes difficult for TESDA to go to some other programs that is not basically post-secondary, but needs community programs which may not really be needing secondary education. So I suggest that the bills on TESDA consider also redefining tertiary education and the requirement for basic education for TVET programs. Also, ma'am, I'd like to call attention to Republic Act 12313, which is the Lifelong Learning Development Framework Act, and that the TESDA law also consider lifelong learning in the new bill. Also, I'd like to look at the judge, jury, executioner issues in the assessment and certification of TVET programs, and second, and support the statement of Secretary Benitez on looking at having a separate independent body for the assessment and certification of skills and competencies. We'll be submitting the formal position paper on this. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Ms. Isaac. Can we proceed to the next speaker? I can't see your name. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Madam Chair, Lauren and Chair
Attorney Alexander
Chairman.
Cabrera. Oh, yes, yes.
Thank you for recognizing Madam Chair.
Thank you.
I am a member of the Standing Committee on Higher Education in the EDCOM. But I speak as a member of the private sector and as a member of the legal profession, just on a singular matter on the bill strengthening the higher education. And if this is in respect of the genre that Secretary Benitez already alluded to, the conflicts of interest in this case in the governing board. And if there's any aspect that hasn't been modernized, I think that this is it. CHED's participation in the governing boards of the state universities is a clear conflict of interest because the regulator also participates in the governing board of the institution being regulated. It is a regulator and a participant at the same time. In other words, in audit, we call that self-regulation. You are in effect regulating yourself. And actually, it's very easy to cure that if you're an outside evaluator and you're not a participant, then that conflict would have been cured. But there's also another issue about accountability. If the governing board comes into a case liable, for instance, for an onerous contract or so, will the members of the governing board be liable except the representative of the CHED? Well, that is in a way saying that there is authority without responsibility, and in no measure will that be fair. There are other issues that can be mentioned, but I'd like to get to the point that if the desire is really to contribute, to the to the competency or to the unseasoned membership of a state university governing board, then this can still be addressed by giving CHED an advisor role in that governing board. And as an advisor in that governing board, CHED will not be deprived of the opportunity to learn and share best practices to other state universities. State universities, of course, should put themselves in a position to teach all its students governance and integrity. And I would say that the composition of the governing board and the curing of the conflicts present there is a good place to start. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, just to add to Attorney Cabrera's statement, ako nga proposal ko tanggalin na rin pati mga legislators sa board, no? Because first of all, 24 lang tayo, but ikaw, isa ka lang, ma'am, because you're the chairman of the higher ed committee and there are 100, how many SUCs? 130? Oh, unless you divide your body into 130, hindi mo mauupuan ho lahat ho yun. And then secondly, our job is to legislate and to approve the budget. So eventually, all of these proposals in terms of budget will end up in our committees, and we will have an opportunity to scrutinize the budget and also scrutinize the decision makings and the policy being implemented by the SUCs. So going by the arguments and the proposal ni Attorney Alex, parang nagiging self-governing rin kami, no? Kasi the legislators sit in the board, they approve the budget. At the same time, pag akyat sa amin, we also approve the budget, no? So by in effect, meron ring conflict in that sense, no? A proposal that I'm putting on the table, Madam
I'm not
Chairperson.
opposed to that because it's really it's a lot of work and it's physically impossible. So what we do is the representative, like ang ginawa ko, representative of the previous chair, I just retained all of them. Yung mga reps ni Senator Alan Cayetano, and then the others request. And sometimes there's too much politics, honestly. There's so much lobbying. Ito, boto president. Hindi ko naman kilala lahat. So ang hirap naman. Oo, so I'm okay with that. Kaya lang yung mga kasamahan natin baka magalit kasi hindi naman ako forever ang chair. Baka yung next chair yung gusto nila. I'm okay with that. It's much less work. Not that we don't like the work, but sometimes yung topics of discussion also are not relevant to us as national lawmakers. Many administrative stuff also which are local in nature. So we'll need to legislate that, right?
Yeah, in the bill.
Okay, you introduce that as your amendment, and I will concur. The House has to concur. They like that. They like being a member. Papayag ba yung congressman hindi na siya? Or ang ilalagay mo, senator lang wala, yung congressman nandun. Hindi papayag yung congressman wala siya. Dapat pareho.
Parehas.
Kung ayaw nila, paano yun?
It's something we can work with
Let's
the
discuss.
House. Kasi
I'm fine with that. Yes. Okay.
and
Yes.
normally in the board, I sometimes I was interested to learn, and then I saw, tama ba, Dr. Ronquillo, sometimes the board meetings can last for a very long time. No? Full day, and they discuss the governance and administrative matters, which tayo naman, wala naman tayong kinalaman on how the school should be run and managed, no? Very, very, hindi lang local, micro talaga to that school.
Just 2 hours over lunch hanggang hapon. And that's under 13. Yes. Quarterly. Wala nang ginawa kundi mag-attend. That's why I have representatives na. And what I did was I required every representative to give us reports. So that's additional reports quarterly.
Yes.
Honestly, I haven't read the reports, but I want a semblance of reportorial to the and I also have my rules. If you read my rules, ay nako, bawal humingi ng donation, bawal mag-recommend ng project, maraming bawal pag representante ko, mahirap. Stricto. Yes, Chair Agrupis. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Just a short and brief and sweet answer and manifestation to 2 important points. Number 1 is the CHED sitting in the board of SUPS. We do believe that prevention is better than cure. CHED set the minimum standard. CEP is authorized to monitor and evaluate and return the result to the SUPS. If CHED is not sitting in the board during deliberation of academic matters, administrative, governance, down to the approval of academic program, all the more that that quality is not supervised. Masyado pong lalaki ang problema. The role of the CHED in the board is not to impose, but with a regulatory supervisory. pag ang SUC mag-represent ng something that is against the minimum standard or the CMO that has been proved and disseminated, we immediately correct them. And then we remedied and propose the right way. So that's the answer. Gusto sana namin na mawawalan ng trabaho kasi we monitor more than 39,000 academic programs, almost 2,000 higher education institutions, 113 state university and colleges. But we mean business in our job at CHED. Number 2 is the quasi-judicial powers. Verily, gusto naming maalis. Because if we have the standard, if we set the right policy, and the CHED monitors it, I don't think we need quasi-judicial authority on this. So instead, we submitted it to the office of the Madam Chair, but to put things on record, we propose in section 3, which is the quasi-judicial powers of the commission, will be replaced with the title administrative regulatory powers of the commission, which are divided into 4. Subject matter: the commission shall exercise administrative regulatory authority over all matters concerning the opening, quality assurance, maintenance of higher education institutions, and their respective programs and closure. Process: the Commission shall issue the corresponding policies, standards, and guidelines in the form of CHED Memorandum Orders or CMO on the specific matters that it may exercise jurisdiction over. Resolution: all resolutions issued by the Commission and Bank in the exercise of the administrative regulatory function as defined in the CHED CMOs shall be final and executory and non-appealable. If we will be empowered in this, then quasi-judicial powers is not needed. Truly po, kahit nag-i-issue na kami ng decision, there are those who go to court, go straight to the office of the President, because we lack this. And I would like to emphasize that not all SUCs, 113 or HEIs at that, do not operate in the same spectrum of quality. So hindi po pwede na walang control, otherwise we all go wayward. Thank you.
To Yi. Yes, we give a chance to the DepEd. Is it Yusek Rafaelita Aldaba? Yes. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon. Madam Chair, Senator Gatchalian, our PQF National Coordinating Council members, Sec Benitez, and Sec Agrupies, colleagues from government and the private sector. The Department of Education and the Philippine Qualifications Framework National Coordinating Council Permanent Secretariat express our strong support for the proposed measures before this committee. Taken together, these bills represent a significant and timely reform package that responds to long-standing structural challenges mentioned by ED Mark a while ago in the Philippine education, training, and professional system. And these measures provide a critical opportunity to move toward a more integrated, outcomes-based, learner-centered, and industry-responsive system. I would like to highlight, Madam Chair, that the Philippines already has a strong foundation for this transformation through the Philippine Qualifications Framework established under Republic Act 10968 and further strengthened by the Lifelong Learning Development Framework Act, also mentioned by former DG Irene Isaac. And complementing this is the Philippine Skills Framework, which ensures alignment with industry needs and evolving labor market demands. And in this context, we respectfully emphasize that the full impact of these reforms will be realized if they are explicitly aligned and anchored on the Philippine Qualifications Framework as the country's unifying qualifications architecture, ensuring coherence across sectors, comparability of qualifications, and seamless learner mobility. We likewise underscore the importance of, number one, strengthening coordination mechanisms across CHED, TESDA, PRC, and other relevant bodies. Second, operationalizing pathways through credit transfer, recognition of prior learning, and stackable micro-credentials. And lastly, developing interoperable data systems to support lifelong learning, learner progression, and evidence-based policymaking. We have also developed more specific recommendations, Madam Chair, which are currently being integrated and undergoing internal vetting. This will be submitted to the committee shortly for consideration. And with these refinements, the proposed measures can collectively enable a coherent national system that supports lifelong learning, enhances workforce readiness, and strengthens the country's global competitiveness. The Department of Education and the PQF Council stand ready to work closely with the committee and partner agencies to support the refinement and effective implementation of these reforms. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Very much, Undersecretary. Yes, Dr. Jail Cornelio. Yes.
Magandang hapon po. Hello, Senator. My name is Dr. Jail Cornelio. I am the director of the Science Education Institute of the Department of Science and Technology. I am representing Secretary Solidum in the light of our major role in the OST as the agency that manages the scholarship program of the OST. I know that the PMSP, the Presidential Merit Scholarship Program, has been brought up also as one of the points of conversation, and it is for that reason that Secretary Solidum has also asked us to represent him here. Senator Lauren, our position paper has been sent to your office, and our position is that this is a humble proposition from the Secretary himself that the OST, in the light of our extensive experience as a scholarship agency, Science Education Institute in particular, be considered a co-implementer of the Presidential Merit Scholarship Program. The idea is that the OST has a long-standing experience in managing science and technology scholarships. In fact, as many of you might know or might not know, the OST has about 54,000 scholars, Senator, all over the Philippines, 48,000 of whom are undergraduate scholars. We have about, in our budget, 7.6 billion, and a huge proportion of that goes into undergraduate scholarship administration. At the same time, SEI, the OST, has extensive experience in administering examination and nationwide examination. This year alone, Senator, we have had the highest number of scholarship applicants, 97,000. We're saying all of this, we're bringing this up, Senator Lauren and our colleagues, for the simple reason that we understand that the OST and CHED can work together in the pursuit of widening access to higher education. In fact, CHED, you might be pleased to know, and the OST have had several conversations in harmonizing our scholarship programs. I know that Senator Lauren herself has mentioned that there may be too many scholarship programs abounding throughout the country. And that is true. We just hope that the OST could be part of this conversation precisely because of our extensive experience managing the scholarship programs. Our national examination, its integrity is in fact unassailable. As we speak, our people are already in quarantine preparing the examination for this coming June. And then finally, we also want to highlight that if this co-implementation scheme is pursued, DOST through DOST SEI, ma'ams and sirs, could take care of the scholarships with respect to science and technology priority programs. This is also a crucial and perhaps also a significant intervention on the part of the OST because based on our conversation with CHED yesterday, there is an appetite to learn and adopt from the experience of SEI in administering this scholarship. And we have been doing so quite effectively over the years, and especially in the past 2 years, in which we have already implemented a lot of changes. Finally, our appeal is that, and our proposal, our humble proposal, is in support of CHED's growing mandate, but also understanding that CHED, and as we have heard today alone, needs a lot of assistance also from other agencies. So again, ma'am, the proposition of DOST, as Secretary Solidum has articulated in our position paper, is that DOST be considered a potential co-implementer of the Presidential Merit Scholarship Program. If this is implemented, ma'am, this will be on top of the many other scholarship programs that we already have.
We take note of that. Kaya na sinabi ko sa simula, hindi ibig sabihin na meron kaming panukalang batas ay dapat magawa. Naintindihan ko yung sinasabi nyo. In fact, maganda yung scholarship ng DOST. That's institutionalized. Tagal na yan, di ba? Tapos ginawa namin yung Unifast. And then, ang dami na confusing nga. So, we don't have to enact it into law. I'm hearing it because it is a LEDAC priority. But we have to see everyone's opinion. And if no one is strongly for it, and the problem here is, what if we enact it now? And what if the next administration will not fund it? Yun ang usapan namin, because it's called Bagong Pilipinas Merit Scholarship. We don't want any scholarship to be political in nature. In fact, we have a provision in the GAA, right, which you initiated, anti-EPAL provisions. So we don't like anything with regards to color or slogan, especially this is education. So just because I authored it does not mean that you have to agree. And I appreciate it when I am told that it's not necessary, or maybe we co-chair here, or maybe you rethink it. So because of this, we will rethink it dahil ang dami na and confusing ang scholarships. Papaasahin mo na naman yung mga bata, tapos baka hindi mapondohan. Okay? Sige.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Chair Agrupis.
yeah, I have to manifest to the manifestation of DOST why we welcome collaboration. Before the final drafting of the guidelines of the Presidential Merit Scholarship, we submitted to them. We called a meeting with them. Why do we need to bring out that suggestion here in the Senate when we had so many times meeting together? And we finalized already the guidelines and ready to start this first semester. And before we identify the priority program as mandated by EDCOM, we agreed that we cover the 8 priority program that includes agriculture and fishery also, that is not covered in DOST. While we recognize and appreciate the excellent implementation of DOST, I think we really need to go back to the table and talk about it, because we already approved all the guidelines and submitted it to the Office of the President. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. So it's always good to hear two sides of a story. And I know that this is a CHED priority and it's a LEDAC priority. You're correct that perhaps the DOST position and CHED should have been ironed out before the hearing, but it's also fine that I hear this, so that when we convert this hearing into a technical working group, we can see. Yes. So I feel the passion of Dr. Shirley Agrupis, ganyan din ako. Oo. Naintindihan ko rin naman ang DOST kasi meron kayong mga programa na pero hindi pala covered ang ibang mga sektor gaya ng agriculture. So let's study this, no? Let's study this. Nothing is perfect.
Madam Chair, going back to your comment on Unifast, I remember a few years back nung ginagawa Unifast, that's precisely why Unifast came about, because ang daming scholarship programs scattered among different government agencies. So kinonsolidate yan sa Unifast. That's why Unifast board laki-laki. No? So that's why there's only one body now managing scholarship programs. That's number one. Number two, this type of programs, I understand, Chair Agrupis, this is a new program. This year lang siya, no? So talagang nagkakaroon ng mga bagong programs depending on the need, depending kung sino yung nakaupo or sino yung nakaisip ng program. But it doesn't mean that we need to institutionalize it because programs change. Nagbabago talaga ang programa eh. Mas maganda pa nga may flexibility ang CHED or ang Office of the President or different government agencies to come up with their programs. And kung maganda yung programa, then we can fund it. Rather than institutionalizing it after a change of administration or a change in need, mag-iiba na naman. No? So better have that flexibility.
Yeah, thank you for that. It was in 2015 where we authored, I was the principal author of the UniFast law. So I'm glad that it is useful. At the proper time, if you feel you study it, please. If you feel it needs to be amended, I'll be happy to be the author as well. But we will leave it at that there is this well-studied version, the Presidential Merit Scholarship. That's why I filed it. The DOST it's not an opposition, it's just a comment, yes? And CHED also has its position. So we take note of that. We would like to hear now, is there someone? Okay, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian has some questions because I said that we can only hold the meeting till 3 o'clock. It's 3:44. So before 4:05, we'll have to go. You have a TWG and I
Yes,
have another
I have a-
meeting as well. So we probably have 15 minutes. Is that okay? Thank you.
Madam Chair, I just have one question that I want to put this on record, and this is directed to DILG. No, of course, yung LUC governance proposal, ang marami nagsasabi, it goes against the principle of local autonomy. So I want to get the opinion of the DILG, whether does it go against the principles of local autonomy? That's number one. And then number two, kung hindi naman, what are the legal basis that we can use in order to pursue this law? No?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Senator Win Gatchalian. So, with the committee's indulgence, I would like to convey the contents of our position paper dated April 23, 2026. As to the provision regarding the devolution of TESDA's training function to local governments, relative thereto, we would like to respectfully convey our reservation to the above stated provision. At the outset, the department take cognizance of the varying capacities and financial standing of local government units. Section 17 of the Local Government Code of 1991 enumerates the basic services and facilities to be delivered by local government units. Accordingly, the delivery of technical and vocational training is not among the services included in Section 17. However, the Sangguniang Panlalawigan, Panlungsod, and Bayan are empowered to enact ordinances, issue resolutions, and allocate appropriations and funds for general welfare of the concerned LGUs, especially the establishment and the provision and operation of vocational and technical schools and similar post-secondary institutions, subject to the availability of funds and existing rules and regulations. Thus, the delivery of technical and vocational trainings cannot be a mandatory requirement for local government units. Additionally, concerns are also raised on the sustainability of delivery of technical and vocational services upon its complete devolution to local government units. Upon the expiration of the period during which TESDA is responsible for financing and capacitating LGUs, the LGUs shall assume responsibility for operations and related budgetary allocations. In this regard, the committee may take into consideration the restricted resources and capacity of some local government units, especially those belonging to lower income classification, in implementing these measures. On the second question raised by the committee on its letter, the role of local government units expressed in the proposed local universities and colleges governance bills. Under the law, The Commission on Higher Education has jurisdiction over all public and private institutions of higher education, as well as degree-granting programs in all post-secondary education institutions, both public and private. The Local Government Code of 1991 provides that local government units, through their respective sanggunians, subject to the availability of funds and existing of vocational technical schools and similar post-secondary institutions, and with the approval of the Department of Education, Culture, and Sports. Post-secondary and tertiary education institution existing upon and created after the Effectivity of Higher Education Act of 1994 are under the jurisdiction of CHED. In relation to this, the department interposes no objection on the passage of Local Universities and Colleges Governance Act. These subject bills will ensure a coherent and uniform governance structure for local universities and colleges, LUCs, align higher education policies, and guarantee the compliance of LUCs with the reasonable policies and standards set by the Commission on Higher Education. However, it is respectfully recommended that all leagues of LGUs, the League of Municipalities of the Philippines, Leagues of Cities of the Philippines, League of Provinces of the Philippines, and the Union of Local Authorities of the Philippines, or the ULAP, be consulted, as these measures, if enacted into law, will significantly affect LGUs. Signed, Attorney Romeo P. Benitez, Undersecretary for External, Legal, and Legislative Affairs.
Thank you for that manifestation. So we appreciate that the DILG supports this proposal, imposing guidelines on the creation of LUCs kasi kailangan talaga of quality, no? And because of the attractiveness ng free higher education, maraming local governments tayo ng local university, pero nalalaman nilang nila attend, ang hirap pala magpatakbo ng local university. No? So kawawa naman ng mga estudyante, kawawa rin yung school. No? So we're just putting order. We're not preventing the local governments from creating local universities. We're just putting order. And the order is they have to consult with CHED first, make sure that they can fulfill the requirements, and after fulfilling the requirements, then magtatayo na sila ng local university. Dahil ngayon nga, tayo muna bago compliance. With that, my last question, Madam Chair, with your permission, is to ED Carol. I saw in your presentation that walang distinction between offerings of LUCs and SUCs. Nasabi rin kanina yan ni ED Jenny. And ako, my opinion is we have to herd the LUCs into providing courses that are attuned to their local needs, diba? Kung anong kailangan ng locality, yun ang dapat nilang i-offer. So in your opinion, Edikar, what is the best mechanism in order for the LUC be attuned to the local needs? Hindi lang yung kung anong popular, let's say criminology, no, offer sila criminology, or tourism offers, pero pero wala ka naman tourist spot, no? So how do you what mechanism is the best to make it attuned?
There are two levers, Mr. Chair, that I think would be a good starting point. The first is the financing. Kasi as ED Jenny said, they're always looking for the cheapest program to offer, which is why in the law, there is already a stipulation. In the bill that is proposed, there's a stipulation that the budget should not be decreased just because kunyari hindi nakakampi ni Mayor yung LUC, biglang bababaan yung pondo, para may sustained talaga siya in terms of being able to continue and get the resources it requires to offer the programs that are responsive to the needs. The second is in the bill, before any program is started, they need to do a real understanding of the local community needs and consult with industry to make sure that it is responsive. And the third, sir, is to create pathways. Kasi po, kung ang titingnan natin is 4-year degrees only, maraming mahihirap hirap talagang mag-commit sa isang 4-year full-time study, which is why community colleges or LUC sana should be the innovative laboratories for us to think about night classes, Saturday classes, hindi full-time lahat kasi you assume na working students yung mga mag-aaral sa'yo. Bigyan sila ng flexibility to innovate on models, because if we require them with the same stringent requirements of a research university, hindi nila magagawa yun. So being able to give them that flexibility to cater to the unique student body that they serve and can serve in their community, I think will be the ones that would allow us to reach and differentiate better. Thank you.
We welcome suggestions from CHED and also from EDCOM, also from TEC. I agree with you na dapat yung LUC should be first and foremost catering to the local needs and the needs of their constituents, rather than offering courses that is really not connected to their needs. So, and this is a good opportunity to embed all of those mechanisms. I agree with you, and kailangan siguro before they offer course offering, chair groupies, is the may feasibility muna, consultation, bago sila mag-offer, let's say, whatever course that the school will offer. No, and those mechanisms should be embedded in the law, and we welcome suggestions. So, thank you, Madam Chairperson.
I was going to ask questions, but it's almost 4 o'clock. But what we'll do is we convert the 6 bills into TWGs. You just schedule it. Individual. We can have doesn't have to be 6 separate TWGs. Depende sa topics. Yeah. We will please advise you which of the 6 will be tackled together, but not all the 6 in one, because it's too much. Yes, probably 2 or 3, and we will have Chair Dr. Yee or EDCOM representatives in each of the bills. One last, who would like to make a statement on any of the measures?
Madam Chair.
Yes. So the closing remarks would come from Pasok. Yes.
Of course, we thank the good chair for having this discussion. It's really an opportunity for us to contribute to making our education within the Philippines future-looking. Now, on the reaction, maybe on the comment of our friend from Teacher Education Council, that DepEd must be a member of the board of SUCs because there is a teacher education program in SUCs, I think is for us too much. Because there are many discussions in SUCs that does not involve teacher education. And if we will be pegging the DepEd secretary or representative there all throughout, it will be too much. We are also opening criminology. Maybe the PNP might also be requesting in the future to be sitting in the board to safeguard the criminology programs. I think if the intent is only to safeguard the program quality of teacher education, we can invite DepEd maybe as resource person in any of our meetings whenever teacher education programs are being discussed. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your presence here. We appreciate your active participation in our hearing today. I know that it's not easy to discuss 6 important measures, but because of the oil crisis, the expensive fare, we could have done this, however, on Zoom, pero iba pa rin yung face-to-face. Kaya in short, sinulit ko na yung inyong presensya na una, please isumitin ninyo, hindi kailangan ng hard copy, email lang nyo, soft copy, yung mga komento nyo. Salamat sa mga nagbigay na po ng inyong mga komento, at kung may karagdagan pa, ay ibigay nyo. Then we will advise you on the schedules and which bills will be tackled together. If you feel strongly about the passage of any measure, please do not hesitate to tell us. Don't spend your time there. Don't waste your time. We are against it. I like to hear that. I always like to hear opposition to what I'm saying.
Thank you.
Yes, you are the experts and we listen to you. And we don't like to pass bills that will not be funded, that will not be implemented, that will be ignored in the next administration, right? We want it to be useful. Pero tingin ko, ang pinakamalaga yung una. Yung una.
Oo.
Yung LUCs at saka SU, I think that's the most, and TESDA. O, wag kalimutan daw si TESDA.
Sorry ma'am, pwede ako mag-last word after Dr. Tirso?
Yes. Sige. Oh,
Only to say, I think part of the issue really is the necessary alignment on the LUC governance bill with, in fact, the modernization of TESDA. Because as I think has been intimated by the DILG representative, what's missing is whether or not workforce development and employability is a part of the charter of the LUCs and how they would best deliver and plan for that. And the planning and the delivery of that actually falls directly under the mandate, not actually of CHED, but of TESDA.
Okay.
So those two things, Madam Chair, are actually linked to each other. And whether or not we devolve it to an LGU, sorry, last word, ma'am.
Yes.
Whether we devolve it to the LGU or we nuance the devolution to make it pass through the same kind of provisions that enables the LUCs to be chartered. Just to note, even as quoted by the representative from the DILG, what is in fact in the local government code IRR is not that they should be offering or opening local universities and colleges, but that they should be in fact creating manpower development through TVET institutions that are post-secondary. No, so
Okay.
it's in that space, Madam Chair, of the original intent in 1994 that perhaps these modernizations and governance chartering needs to be seen and addressed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know that there have been internal consultations on the creation of a Department of Tertiary Education that will merge Commission on Higher Education and TESDA. Okay, so I just put that on the table. It's another 3 hours of discussion because why will we discuss about modernization of TESDA? Why will we discuss about strengthening CHED, etc., or changing the charter if ang gusto pala ninyo, ang Department of Tertiary Education? Oh, ano yun? No, biglang tumahimik. Kasi papahirapan nyo ako sa 6. Papahirapan nyo kaya nga. Okay? But we will still proceed with the TWG. When will you give us your initial feedback on the Department of Tertiary? Kasi baka gagawin natin batas to, tas by next year you give me a bill. Ito na lang, ipagsama na lang. Hindi tayo pwedeng ganyan. Oo eh. Oh, gusto nyo i-modern, improve ang CHED, gawang cabinet level, tapos biglang gusto pala nyo magkasama kayo. Make up your mind. Huh? Department of Tertiary Education. Okay? Nakatingin sa akin, nakatitig si Pasok, si Dr. Ronquillo.
Madam Chair, mas masaya kaming trifocal muna.
Ang aking nabalitaan dito, the Department of Tertiary Education is supported by TESDA. Totoo ba? O Kong Romulo, DepEdsec Angara.
Ma'am, if I may lang.
Senator Bob, ako hindi ko pa alam yun ha. Bakit ako huli sa balita? Hindi sinasabi na meron kayong consultation.
Hindi, ma'am, ano lang. There are certain things I think that need to be cleared. There are differences, for example, in formal, non-formal, and informal education. There are reconfigurations and new understandings of what tertiary education or post-secondary education may look like. There are new understandings of what a lifelong learning framework may look like. And all of this is actually currently, I think, on the table and being discussed as to what would be the best arrangement by which it can be in fact properly delivered. So it seems to be a moving terrain, Madam Chair.
Okay, so I don't think this will happen in the next few months anyway, in the next few years. So this is still 2028. We focus on the 6 measures. If we take out 1 or 2, we see for this year, okay? Before October, before the budget season. Whatever the output of your consultations on the Department of Tertiary Education, did I shock most of you by saying that? We will see what happens. Okay, Dr. Agrupis, you're not in favor of the Department of Tertiary Education.
I'm not yet,
convinced.
yes, Madam
Not yet
Chair.
convinced.
I'm not yet, we are data driven.
Yes.
Until we unearth all the existing policy governing the higher education institution, we cannot solidify our stand as to this bill. But for us to have a take-home hope on looks and the establishment on looks and what's that? Governance of looks, the pathway of students enrolling to local colleges, I want to inform the Madam Chair and Senator Win that we are crafting new CMO because we want to be more proactive than reactive. So for the establishment of looks, we are already 90% done for the prescription on what to do, which include first feasibility study, certification of availability of funds, project development plan, title of the school site, 5-year, and among others. Second CMO that we are crafting is the establishment, the clear delineation of local colleges and community colleges and state university and colleges. We follow the principles of the community college framework that we will provide in partnership with TESDA, Madam Chair, the multi-path curriculum, the skill-based focuses on access to lifelong learning and industry focus. Soon we will submit to you the finalized CMO in partnership with TESDA, Madam Chair.
Very much. The last word belongs to Dr. Shirley Agrupis. I thank all of you for this. Meron pang gustong hihirit. Gusto ko yung last word palagi si Shirley. Okay. Thank you very much. We will suspend and convert to a technical working group based on the 6 measures. Thank you, Senator Sherwin. Thank you, everybody.